their power
The
to
TV
make
broadcast
the
that
audience a
terrified
part of
the
the
nation.
experience, breaking the fourth wall, utilizing real people and events to ground you in the
I'm about to
world.
talk as
But there's a
fast as
problem. No matter how hard the movie tries, it will almost always fall flat. The audience will always have a degree of separation. They know they're watching a movie, a fictional series of events. But I did say almost always. There have been just a handful of times where a piece
When
of
I was
media
in
has ascended
fourth
past
grade,
this
my
barrier
teacher
and cemented
showed us
itself
a
within pop
movie
culture
about
history.
the
And
movie
one
was
of those
based on a
movies is
radio
what I want to talk about
broadcast.
today, and what the aftermath of it all was. There's this 1994 slasher movie starring Lonnie Anderson that, for the time, caused people to be terrified across the nation because of
Damn.
its realism. I'm Nightmare Movies, and today I want to introduce you all to
Oh shit. The cliffhanger, the bamboozled man.
Our film starts off quickly and simply.
But
An
it was a
intruder has
film
already entered someone's
about
home. He
aliens
breathes
coming to a
heavily,
neighborhood
walking up the stairs,
after an
holding
asteroid
a
hit.
handgun. He enters the bedroom.
And then apparently the
as he
broadcast,
does,
they told
we
people it was
interrupt
an
this
April
program for a
Fool's
special
joke or
bulletin.
whatever it was.
Seismologists at
But then
Caltech now
the people that
report
just
at
heard
least
it without
three
hearing that,
separate
they freaked the
seismic
fuck out.
events
Everybody thought it was
tonight,
real.
Each in the northern
The way it
hemisphere
was
with
broadcast
earth
was
tremors
like
of
if it was happening in
magnitude
real time.
8.5 and above. We now resume our regularly scheduled program.
Okay, that was strange. I mean, I hope everybody is okay. Back to the movie, I guess. Inside the bedroom is a happy couple and our intruder. He raises his
Serial killer.
pistol and points it at the
We
never
interrupt
mind.
this program for a
Oh,
special
what the
report
fuck?
from Evening World News in Washington.
Reports are just coming in.
So this is in the movie?
But it appears that at 8:24 p.m. Eastern Time, the near-Earth asteroid known as 6645 Venturi hurtled from space and broke apart, striking the Earth at 3 separate points around the globe.
Wait, this sounds serious. An asteroid broke apart and hit Earth, but luckily none of them hit anywhere that was populated. But still, that's big news. Oh, CBS thankfully has someone in San Diego covering the story. Pamela Barnes is at the Palomar Observatory giving us some more context about this meteor. According to satellite images, the meteor created a crater 2.4 kilometers wide, and the impact was so devastating it torched the surrounding area. And it looks like even though the initial impact wasn't all that deadly, the aftermath
Dog, it looks
might
like they
be.
took a fucking
There's
photo of a
fires,
ketchup and mustard
they're
stand.
spreading fast. Just then, though, the story shifts to an on-the-ground reporter in Wyoming, Barry Steinbrenner, there with the National Guard who's being deployed to prevent the fires from spreading to a nearby town. My God, over 10,000 people are being evacuated, and there's been power outages reported north and east of the site. But this just seems like the beginning of the problems caused by the asteroid. Bree Walker is on site at the impact zone, and it looks bad, really bad. There's a group of specialists at the site now. They're to gather samples of the asteroid. But wait, they just got a report that there were people in the vicinity of the impact. Oh my God. Bree says that they're gonna go check it out. In the meantime, though, it's not just people in the US that are panicking over this. There were 2 other crash sites, Impact Site Bravo in France and Impact Site Charlie in China. And at least in France, the people there weren't so lucky. Reportedly, hundreds of people were close to Impact Site Bravo. They're even interviewing some of the survivors, and these people seem scared. Even worse is Impact Site Charlie, where because of the remoteness of the impact zone, they might not know the amount of casualties for days. There's no other way to describe this. It's a horrible act of God. But how could this have happened? It looks like they have someone at NASA, Matthew Jensen, but all he's saying is that NASA had no idea how this could have happened. Matthew says that NASA was able to track and accurately predict similar asteroid impacts on Jupiter. How could they have missed this? Well, there's no real explanation given. Only more things to fear, as we're told by one of the NASA scientists that they're only tracking about 10% of near-Earth asteroids. And if one of those hits Earth, well, I'll let him explain.
Let's just say it would make Hiroshima seem like a 3-alarm fire.
So, okay, we have 3 impact sites with an unknown
I'm not
number
gonna
of
lie,
casualties
with
and
the
threat
context
even
of
more
today,
deadly attacks
this shit
coming
looks so
at any
weak, bro.
given time. Wait,
The
scratch
fucking,
that, there's
I'm
something
sure it was
coming
scary
in
for
now.
back in the day,
Bree
bro.
Walker, she's
With this
updating us
grainy
on
ass
Impact
news,
Site
dog.
Alpha.
It's like, come
3
on, man.
casualties confirmed. Ranchers that were nearby, and holy shit, is that a kid? A little girl, but something's wrong. What is she saying? I can't understand.
You know what she said?
We're back, okay. This time with Dr. Carolyn Jaffe, and she's not here to tell us better news. She's telling us about all the previous disasters from asteroids striking the Earth, the dinosaurs going extinct, and some alarming statistics. Like
Yeah, but who the
how
fuck
after
is
this
believing this shit
disaster,
if
there's
nobody's
a
getting blown
20%
up, dog? What are we
chance of
talking
a
about?
follow-up strike occurring. But I don't know. There's something going on, something the government isn't telling us. At NASA, they moved all of the reporters to a separate room. There's scientists being picked up by Marines, and no one at the station has any concrete answers, only speculations. Maybe something to do with the trajectory of
So
the
they
asteroid
broke
before
this
it
all
broke
up
apart and hit Earth.
in the
but
span
they're
of a
unsure,
singular
and
movie.
things are only going to get more strange from here. At Impact Zone Charlie, it seems like the asteroid hit a hydroelectric dam, knocking out power and water nearby. But this isn't some small town power outage. 7 million people are stranded without electricity or water right now. Meanwhile, back in the US at Impact Zone Alpha, police have set a perimeter restricting news crews from getting close to the crash site for fear of aftershocks, but so far none have been felt. Not only that, dozens of scientists from NASA and the Pentagon have flown in, and even more concerning, the military has arrived as well and initiated a no-fly zone over the meteor site. Oh, finally, someone from NASA is giving a statement. But wait, what? No questions can be asked? Those 3 crash sites that were documented, well, they don't seem so random anymore. All 3 sites are at 45 degrees north latitude. This asteroid broke up over the North Pole and perfectly landed across the Earth at 45 degrees north latitude. Are they really telling us that's just a coincidence? You have NASA and the Pentagon flying out scientists and threatening to kill anyone who goes near the sites. What is going on? Well, one of our reporters might have a theory on that.
I understand you're the co-chair with Dr. Mandel of SETI.
I am.
Well, Doctor, what do you make of the announcement by NASA that the asteroid fragment struck in precise order?
Well, it just confirms what we've been saying for years. The existence of intelligent life beyond Earth is undeniable.
I knew it, bro. I'm thinking it's the same type of
SETI is
story.
an acronym for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, a self-explanatory organization that one of the scientists being picked up earlier was a part of. And with this and everything else going on, I think it's safe to assume what's actually happening. And the evidence pointing towards extraterrestrials keeps piling up. Firstly, that little girl who was found at Impact Zone Alpha, Kimberly Hastings, was reported missing and has ended up over 400 miles away from her home with no explanation. Then Dr. Robert Perlman gives us more tangible proof, confirming that there is almost a 0% possibility that these asteroids hit those 3 specific locations with such precision, forming a perfect triangle over the North Pole. And if you still need more proof, a man named Dwayne Haskell has been questioned by local police and the Air Force. For what? Well, for reporting a UFO. So what, aliens are here and they've crash landed on our planet? This is crazy. And try as they might, the Pentagon and the government aren't going to be able to sweep this under the rug. Not after...
Dog, what the fuck? You can't do the final warnings after the final warnings. I think it's supposed to break up the movie, no? Like that's how it was set up. How you gonna go from cut to cut?
The crash site in the U.S., all 3 of them, causing helicopters to crash, cameras to malfunction, and even now, disruptions with commercial flights, all across the 45th parallel. This is bad. Really bad. The longer this goes on, the more chaos is reaching the general public. People are panicking, governments are scrambling, and all signs are pointing to extraterrestrials. The only questions left are, what do they want
are those
and
signs?
where are they? Well, according to the White House, they're here. Barbara Schiller, the White House secretary, tells us that at 9:17, Air Force geo-tracking stations detected the presence of a second asteroid, 200 feet in diameter, on an identical path towards Earth. Impact expected 5 minutes from now. 2 F-16s equipped with low-yielding nuclear weapons have been sent out to destroy the asteroid. And this seems desperate. Back at NASA, we have Dr. Kurt Loden expressing concerns about firing nuclear weapons over the polar ice caps.
I'm not gonna lie, in a
An
space
asteroid
war, bro,
traveling
if
at
if our
50
planet got
times the
attacked, we'd
speed
be
of sound.
fucked.
But whatever they think of this, it's the
I feel
only
like, man,
option
we
at
got,
this point.
we
If
could
this
take out some
asteroid
asteroids,
hits
some little
Earth,
asteroids, but if a
it's going
fucking
to
shit
be
beams down,
devastating.
dog, what are
So
we doing?
we sit and wait
Can't even,
for the
you know what I'm saying?
inevitable.
Can't even
The
come
pilots are
together
rude,
for peace.
getting
How we gonna come
closer
together to beat
and
the aliens?
closer to the asteroid.
I don't know.
They've locked on
Then
to
again,
the
they could be
target.
friends.
They fire the nuclear missiles, but once they do, that same
Or are
piercing
we the
screech
aliens?
interrupts the mission, and the screens go black. Did they die? Oh my god. we cut back to the Pentagon, where it's reported the mission was a success. The asteroid was destroyed, the radio signals have ceased, and I guess that looks like the end of the story. Well, almost. Just then, our SETI scientist has landed at NASA. Matt tries to get an interview with him, and this is what he says.
There is a force behind these asteroids that is clearly intelligent. They came in the way that they chose to come, in peace at first. We have made a preemptive strike, people. We have just declared war.
And if you needed more proof, here it is.
So they believe that
miles
shit
from
right there.
Impact Zone Alpha. The town of Faith, Wyoming was home to over 3,000 people, and now every single one of them has disappeared, vanished
Jeez.
without a trace. And one final nugget of proof for those skeptics still out there. We know that these crash sites aren't random already, but what we now know is how significant those locations actually are. According to Dr. Robert Perlman, the coordinates form a triangular shape, one that is identical to a plaque that was aboard the Pioneer 11, a probe that was sent out to study Jupiter in 1973. They were trying to communicate with us, not just this time, but before, with Jupiter. And what did we do? Fired nuclear weapons. And because of that, we are going to retaliate, fire warheads at the incoming projectiles. The world is in chaos. This is our only hope. And oh my God, it worked. Crisis averted. The world is saved. And that is...
Matt, what is it? Matt, what do you see?
There's too many to calculate. Now,
my God.
Jeez.
That is Without Warning. And now we get to talk about the aftermath.
Bet.
So let me give you the context
So
for
this is
all
the
of
real.
this first. Without Warning originally aired on October 30th of 1994 as a nod to Orson Welles' famous radio broadcast of War of the
I'm telling
Worlds.
you,
It
bro.
did
I've
so
been
with
knew this.
tremendous
I've been knew
authenticity.
this.
This wasn't
I've
some
known.
random
I really got the
made-for-TV
knowledge,
movie
bro.
in the traditional sense, where everything feels cheap and phony. They utilized real reporters, most famously Sander Vonnegut, quite a recognizable name at the time. All the segments where you see reporters at different locations feel extremely authentic for the most part, minus some slightly dodgy CGI for one or
We've
two
just
sections.
declared
And
war.
the acting from all of the
They came in
non-news
peace.
reporters is very believable and at sometimes haunting. Matthew is an especially standout character in this because of how frantic and terrified he is. If it weren't for the introduction and occasional on-screen text reminding you that this is fake, I could see how people would start to freak out while watching this, and that is exactly what happened. Like I said, they do expressly state in text that this is not a real news broadcast after every commercial break, and at the beginning of the film with an introduction. But that did not stop people from panicking. There were dozens of reports coming into CBS from concerned families asking if this was actually happening. There were even reports from other news stations claiming that people called in and complained that they weren't covering this potentially world-ending news. And it may sound dumb, right? Because they were very open about this being a fictional story. Put yourself in the shoes of a family in 1994. You're sitting down on the night before Halloween watching prime time news and watching what you think is going to be a weird little horror movie. And suddenly, your night is interrupted by a recognizable and credible news reporter telling you asteroids have hit Earth, which left people with 15 or so minutes of what they assumed was genuine breaking news. Not to mention, what if you started watching this in the middle of the broadcast? This was way before social media, so all you had was the TV for your news. And there's also the fact that, if we're being completely honest, some people are never fully paying attention to what they're watching. I can definitely see how people thought this was real, and I'm not just saying that for no reason. Look at all of these comments from people who watched this broadcast. People were convinced this was happening. Some people did catch on quickly because they used some recognizable actors, and of course the warnings after each commercial break. But this was still an incredible watch that highlights one of my favorite types of horror, the kind that truly invades our own reality. Like I mentioned, this movie was heavily inspired by War of the Worlds, even given a couple nods to that broadcast as Easter eggs for you to find. But this is not the only film of its kind. There's 1992's Ghost Watch, an amazing mockumentary aired by the BBC back in 1992, presented as a real paranormal investigation. Then, of course, there's the famous marketing of the Blair Witch Project that took things to the next level with its famous missing persons posters and website presenting the film as real. And now, unfortunately, we have grown numb
Shout out
to
to Blair
the
Witch,
whole
man.
based on a
They
true
were doing it
story
different,
trope,
man.
where the idea of
Movie's
what we're
great.
watching is real. The internet has turned everyone into skeptics, and has sadly killed a very unique and interesting form of storytelling. But that's why I wanted to bring this movie to everyone's attention, because it's kind of special. There was so much passion involved in the making of this film, and you can tell from using real-life news anchors to help with the realism, and referencing and including little Easter eggs for sci-fi fans. Like, there's an entire section where writer Arthur C. Clarke is being interviewed, the man who wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey. This could have been a much smaller, lower-budget film, but they challenged themselves to create this world-ending scenario and make it as realistic as possible for a public broadcasting channel, because they knew that they had to do War of the Worlds justice, unlike another adaptation. There are versions of this film out there that were recorded live, with all the commercial breaks and everything, and it's such a fun, immersive experience if you're willing to give it a shot. There are some hokey elements to this movie for sure. Remember, this is a public news station, but overall, I think this is a great little film. So if you're looking for something nostalgic,
nice, real creative,
immersive, and unnerving at times, and if you're a big fan of War of the Worlds and haven't seen this, give Without Warning a shot. And with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe.
Good vid. I'll sub to you, boss. I'll do it. Good vid. I don't know if that's my favorite genre of horror though. I don't know. I might lose my fucking mind. I like the triple double check at the end if it really fucks me up. All right. Cool. Not really. I'm not. It doesn't convince me but you know what I mean. Like when you're watching a movie and then at the end it goes based off a true story. Oh fuck. You know what I mean. But a lot of movies do that just to fuck with you though, I think.